Today, we're going to learn how to balance chemical equations from word problems. And I'm also going to include how to find out what these molecules are. So, we're starting out with sulfuric acid. And to find out what sulfuric acid is, you have to know what oxyacid nomenclature is. And so to find this, you have to know that it starts off with hydrogen, just like all acids. And the ion it comes from is sulfate. And you know this because of the ick. And that tells you that the ion ends in 8. And the root, sulfur, tells you that it's sulfur. So you start off with sulfuric acid, H2, and then you have to know what sulfate is, so you have to go back to your polyatomic sheet, and that is SO4. And then you combine this with sodium hydroxide, again looking back at your ions sheet, so you get Na. And then hydroxide is OH. And so the first thing about balancing is you have to look at the ions. So sodium for right here is +1, combines with hydroxide is -1. So this balances out perfectly. So you don't have to worry about adding any numbers to it because it's already perfectly balanced. Sulfuric acid, 2 hydrogens would be +2. SO4 sulfate is -2. So this works out perfectly as well. Now to get the solution, we get water, obviously, H2O. That's balanced. And sodium sulfate. Sulfate again, SO4, -2, and sodium, Na, +1. So because this is a -2 and this is a +1, you need 2 sodium atoms. So there you go, 2. So now this is a completely balanced equation. Now all that's left is making sure that there are the same number of each individual atoms on this side as this side. So we do this by making a little chart, like a before and after chart. We have on this side hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen, sodium, and then oxygen and hydrogen again. So we have 1, 2, 3 hydrogen atoms, 1 sodium for 5 oxygens, and 1 sodium. And then on this side, again, write down the same atoms, hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen, and sodium. So we have 1, 2 hydrogens, 2 sodiums, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oxygens, and then 1 sulfur. So as you can see by this, the the sulfur and the oxygen checks out, so they're the same numbers here. But the hydrogen at the beginning has more than at the end, and vice versa for the sodium. So now what we have to do is balance these out. To balance this out is quite simple. All we have to do is add 2 waters and 2 sodium hydroxides, and we know this because 2, so now we have 4 hydrogens here, or at the end, so that's 4. We have 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4 at the beginning, and then we have 1, 2 oxygens, plus that would be 6. 1, 2 oxygens plus 4 here, That's 6. Then we have 2 sodiums here at the top, so that's 2. And then there's 2 at the bottom here, so that all checks out. We have 4 hydrogens, 1 sulfur, 6 oxygens, and 2 sodiums. The final step is naming this, and because the hydrogen switches over with the oxygen here to make water, and the sodium from this side and the sulfate from this side combine and switch to the sodium sulfate, we can call this a double displacement. And we can also call this a neutralization reaction because we have a acid making water and salt.